Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 20 says, "For there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not." And this is soul winning tip number 1, how to debunk the scale theory. I call the scale theory this belief that a lot of unsaved people have where they say, well, I don't need to go through Jesus to get my salvation. If I just do enough good deeds, they will outbalance my bad deeds, and then I'll be in the green and I'll be able to earn my way into heaven. Now, I believe that Ecclesiastes 7 verse 20 is a good verse to take them to help debunk that. You see, their problem is they believe that the way good deeds and sin work is that good deeds cancel out or outweigh sin. But the problem with that is not God's definition of just. You see, Ecclesiastes 7 says, "For there is not a just man upon earth." And then it goes on to explain what God's definition of just is. It says, "That doeth good and sinneth not." You see, in order to be considered just according to God, not only do you have to do good, that means to keep his commandments, but it also says, "and sinneth not." That means you never have sinned. That means there is no sin on your record. You see, a perfect record in God's sight is a record that contains good deeds and it contains the absence of bad deeds. But if you have good deeds and a mixture of bad deeds with it, that is not a perfect record. You cannot balance your sin out by just doing good deeds. It does not work like that for salvation. And I believe that once you explain to them that being righteous in God's sight requires both obeying the law perfectly and never having sinned, then they will truly be able to understand why Romans 3 says there is none righteous. Because while they'll say, yeah, I've done some good, but hey, have you ever done wrong? Have you ever done anything bad? Yes, I have. Yes, I've sinned. Then they come to understand that they don't meet the sinneth not part of God's qualification of what makes you just. And so once you show them that they're not just, I believe you can loop them right back around to Romans chapter 3, since that's where you started with Romans 3:23 anyway. You can loop them right back around to Romans 3. It says in verse 20, "Therefore by the deeds of the law there shall no flesh be justified in his sight." You can explain to them, hey, that's why by the deeds of the law, you will not be justified in God's sight. Because the fact that you did those good deeds over here doesn't make up for the fact that you did those sins over there. Your record contains both sins and righteousness. It's not a record where the sin is deleted by the righteousness. It doesn't work like that. So you take them to that, and then you drop right straight down to verse 28. "Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law." Why? Because Jesus is the one that justifies us. So I believe that helps you if you're in a situation where the person is asking, why can't I outbalance my sins with righteousness? You just explain to them, because in God's eyes, in order to be just, not only do you have to do good, but you have to never sin. And none of us meet that qualification. Another verse that I think serves the same purpose, if you don't want to go back to Romans 3, is Galatians chapter 2 verse 16, that says, "Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ. Even we have believed in Jesus Christ, that we might be justified by the faith of Christ, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law, there shall no flesh be justified." And I actually love this one. I like to use this one. I would prefer to use this one a little more, because it explicitly talks about the faith of Jesus and how by the works of the law, there shall no flesh be justified. This verse right here, verse 16 of Galatians chapter 2, is like a one verse summary of Romans chapter 3 when you think about it. So these are just some tips about verses you could possibly use in case you encounter that false doctrine out soul winning. God bless.